Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. Today I'm going to show you how I made my casually crafting project, and that was from the blog that went live today as well. And it's a triple flap card that I made. This is the prototype just to show how it works. And I took my inspiration from Connie Stewart, who's an American demonstrator, and she has the site Simply Simple Stamping. And so I took all my sizes and everything from her and just gave it my own spin. Now, normally when you make a flap card like this, you need a really big piece of cardstock and you end up having to cut lots of pieces out. But Connie had made it so that you actually attach two smaller flaps just on the back, and then you cover this with another piece of card. So it means you don't waste as much card. And I really liked the fact that you didn't have to waste any card. So I'm going to make a masculine card, and I'm going to use items from the He's All That suite. And I want it to be a birthday card, and it didn't have a sentiment on here that I wanted to use. So I'm also using the Biggest Wish stamps, sorry. And the paper I'm using is also from the He's the Man, He's All That suite. And if you didn't want to do any stamping at all, you could certainly use these cutouts that come in with the paper. And you get 2 sheets of these. It looks a little bit ratty now because I've used so many, and others I've popped out and then put back. I haven't used them, but it's the most beautiful set of pieces and designer series paper that's great for masculine cards. But you could use the other side for other cards that didn't have to be masculine. I just love how it all coordinates together. I'm going to move this out of the way. Oops. And then let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to make the base. I'm going to make this piece. And you need a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. I will put all the sizes on my blog, so if you follow the link from the YouTube video, you'll be able to see all the sizes and everything. So I've got my trimmer. And you don't need a whole piece of card, but it's easier to cut from one piece of card, and you can be a little bit more economical that way. So across the 8.5 inch side at the top, I'm going to cut that down to 4 inches. And then I'm going to trim it at 10.5. And because this card is already 11, I only have to trim 1/2 inch off. It's not a lot that you trim off. And I don't need that for anything, but I'm just putting it on one side for now. And then I'm going to score this at 5.25. So I'm using the paler colour blade for scoring. So that will become the front flap part. And then those other flaps that folded left and right, they will attach to these sides. And I'm going to cut those next. So I've got the rest of the piece of card, and we need to cut it down to 2.5 inches. This piece I don't need, but I will save. I can use that for layering or adding little elements, so I don't want to throw that away. And I'm going to score this whole piece at 1/2 inch. So I'm moving it over because I find it easier to just move it over to the right, ready to do the scoring, and move that blade out of the way and score down at 1/2 inch. And then we'll cut it to length. It needs to be 5 1/8. So I'm going to cut it to 5 1/8. And the next piece, again, I'm going to cut to 5 1/8. You will have a little scrap left. That's this little tiny piece, and we don't need that. Okay, and while I'm here, I'm going to cut my designer series paper. Now my paper measures, let me check, I think it's 5 by 12. And I've chosen a piece where I'm using this as the orientation. Just check that whichever way you cut it, the orientation is running correctly. And I'm going to cut this along the longer side, along the 12-inch side, at 1 3/4. And I'm going to do that 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can probably see that I put those in order. As I was cutting it, I've slid them underneath the top one. If you have a piece of designer series paper where you want the pattern to run across the whole of the card and look correct, then that's the easiest way to do it. I don't think it'll matter on mine just because of the pattern, but I've got it organised just in case. Okay, then this last piece, we need to cut this down to 3 3/4. And that leaves you one little piece that's 1 1/4. Yeah. And they're the last 2 pieces that we need. Okay, so I'm going to put this away. I don't need this again at the moment. And let's make that base card. Now, excuse me while I just get my bone folder. Okay. Now these are going to be those little wings or little flaps. And where that 1/4 inch score is, we're going to fold it over and just burnish it. Fold it over and just burnish it. And they are going to fit onto the inside of our card. This will be the front. I'm going to open it up. This will be the inside of our card, and we're going to put adhesive on this piece and push them in. Now before you start and glue them, just check that they actually fit. You want the bottom of this card to match the bottom of the main piece. You will have a little piece left. I did try making that a tiny bit bigger, but I found that when you folded this over, it actually impeded the folding because it was bulky there. So I'm just going to check that both these pieces fit. Very occasionally they don't, and you might need to trim a bit off, just if I've wiggled the card when I've cut it or something. Okay, so that's going to fit really nicely, and you can use any glue of choice on this. Tear and tape would work really well. In fact, let's use tear and tape, because that would be really easy. And I'm going to just pop it down next to that fold, next to that score line on both pieces. There we go. Just burnish that with my bone folder, just to make sure it's fully stuck down. Okay, and then we'll take the backing off. And the little flap is going to go to the back. So I'm going to push it right into the card and make sure that the bottom base is flat and flush. And I'm going to turn it over and just go over it with my little bone folder. There we go. And then I'm going to do exactly the same with the other piece. So I'll pop that there. And to fold it over, hold it up to the card base, make sure the very bottoms are flush, push it in as far as I can, and then go over it with my bone folder. Okay, I'm just going to go over this top piece again. Now you will notice that you can see just a tiny bit at each side, and that's fine. You can't make that flush because it's going over the edge here and folding over there. So you can't make it exactly flush, but you can make it as near as possible. Now, let's get ready with our next pieces. I have my inside pieces, and I've got a piece of Cajun Craze, and this one is cut at 4 by 5 1/4, and I have a piece of basic white, and this is cut at 3 3/4 by 5, and it's going to line up like this. Okay, if you wanted to stamp something on here, now is the time to do it before you attach it to your card. I'm not going to stamp something, but I am going to use one of those little punched cutouts that came in the pack. So I know I can just adhere this down. And then what I've chosen is, oh, let me see, did I pop it back? Oh no, here it is. I've chosen this one, the Holy Smokes, You're the Best one. And I chose it because I've got this Cajun Craze colour, and that's what I've picked out as my highlight colour. And it's going to be a card for my son, and he is one of the best meat smokers I know. So it just fitted. Just seemed the right one for him. I'm going to pop that on the inside, and I'm going to put it over to the side. I don't want to be able to see it when the card is closed, and because there's a little gap here, you might be able to see a bit of it if you put it in the middle, and I didn't want to see that. Okay, and then we'll attach that to the inside, and it just fits exactly. It doesn't give you a crumb cake border as well. It's just the exact size for the card. And this is a card, I haven't actually made this design before, so I was really excited to see it and have a go with it. I've made flap cards, but never just like this. And this is a much easier way to make them than the ones I've made in the past. Okay. I'm just going to push that right down. Just go over it with my bone folder again. Okay. And then I have another piece of the Cajun Craze, and that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and this whole piece is going to fit on. So if you were thinking, oh no, I can see a tiny little bit from the inside, it doesn't matter because it matches the backing piece, and it just, you know, just sort of melts in. Let's pop some of this here. There we go. And then I'm going to make sure it's fairly central, or as central as I can get it. And I've got the same border, the top and the bottom and the left and the right. And there we are. And so that creates the whole of the card. And now we just need to decorate it. I've got all my little pieces of Designer Series paper that we've cut earlier. The bigger piece is going to go on the front, and you do get a little border all the way around. I'm going to attach that one first. I'm going to close it up while I just attach it. Trying to make sure that I've got the border level. Okay, and then I'm going to open that one up. You could put another piece on the inside if you wanted. And then these are the pieces that I cut. And I want to have, you do get a little border all the way around these as well. I don't think it matters if they're going to match up or not. I don't think it really matters. But these are the two pieces that match, and I can tell from that cow that I've cut in half. Oh dear. Poor cow. So I'm going to attach this to the left hand side. And then this to the right hand side, and I can use the one that I've put on the left hand side, I can use that to line this one up. I can line it up sort of the same top and bottom. There we go. Okay. Now your other pieces are to go here, and you can use them the same way. You could turn them over. Oh, that's quite nice actually, because that picks up that Cajun Craze. I think I'm going to turn them over. Let me see which way they go though, so I know that I've got the stripes running the correct way. But you could have all 4 pieces of designer series paper the same on your card. That would look really nice too. Pop this one on. And then you will notice that I've got this little piece left, and I thought I would pop that onto my envelope. On Connie Stewart's, she popped hers on the inside here like this, but I think I'm going to put it across my envelope and just make it so that the envelope matches everything else. Okay, so now we just need to do our sentiment and our front piece. So I have a little piece of basic white, and I've cut that. It will fit across the whole of the card front like this. So it covers over this border as well. If you wanted it so that you could still see that border, you can cut this down by 1/4 of an inch, and then it would just be the same width as the designer series paper instead. But I actually want mine to go across the whole thing. Okay, and I'm going to find my stamps. I've chosen the birthday and the happy, and I'm going to stamp the birthday in crumb cake, and I'm going to try and get the birthday sentiment over to this right hand side. I want to put something at the left hand side, and I know my crumb cake is a little bit dry. You could do with a re-inker. I'm sorry I have to move this just down a little bit, and I'm sorry if you just get my head in the way. Let's move it up a bit now. Okay, so there's the birthday. Oops, pop that one away. And then I'm going to use the early espresso for the happy part. This will dry a little bit lighter. I find that the crumb cake, when I first stamp it, it's quite dark, but it does dry a little bit lighter. Okay, now my happy, I want it to go a little bit through my birthday, and I'm going to stamp it on an angle as well. And I'm stamping, what did I use? Early espresso, just in case I haven't said. Okay. Close that up. And then I'm going to pop a little bit of twine just around this left-hand side. Because it's a masculine card, I don't want lots of bows or fancy things. In this bag, it's the Baker's Twine Essentials, but this silver one is from the Silver and Gold set, and this one is linen thread. Let me see which colour I like the best. I think this is crumb cake, it is. So I'm going to use the crumb cake twine. And on the back, I'm just going to put a little bit of tear and tape so that I can catch the twine as it goes around and keep it still. Let's take that backing off. I'm going to wrap it just around 3 times. I want a little bit out the front to tie with. So 2, 3, and then let's get some scissors, cut a piece off. I try to wind it straight from the bobbin. I find that way I waste less. If I cut a piece and, you know, it's much too long, I can't do anything about that. But if I've done it from the bobbin or the spool, whoops, then it's a bit easier. Let's just see. I only want to tie a little knot. I'm not tying a bow or anything. So it doesn't want to play at the moment. Let's try that again. Let's try doing just a little reef knot. It could do with a glue dot underneath, because this, I've left this a little bit small at the side. Oops. It doesn't want to tie. There we go. Let's pull that through. And then, let me see if I've got my tweezers or something, so I could just carry on pulling that. Not quite as tight as I'd like it. pull that piece up. Let's see if I can get that just a bit tighter. I use my, let's see, I wonder if I could use my pokey tool thing. My little take your pick. Oh, I don't want to go in there now. There we go. Just to hold that down. It's because I've got that little tiny end there. It would probably be much quicker to take it off and retie it. Okay, no, it doesn't want to play, so I'm going to cut the ends off. I quite like that frayed look that's on it. All I'm going to do, I'm going to pull this piece at the back so it's taut. I'm just going to move it out so it's stuck down and it's quite taut. And let's poke that to the front. There we go. There we are. There's lots of ways to do things. Sometimes they don't work quite the way you want them to, but I'm sure we can find another way. All right, now let's get my card back. And this is going to go right across. And I'm actually going to do a little punched element as well. I've got my little label puncher. I don't remember what that one's called. Just let me have a quick look. I think it's one of the Pick Me ones. Nope. Yeah, Banners Pick a Punch. That's the one. The Pick a Punch. And I had a little bit of that designer series paper left. So what I've done is I'm going to make 3 little bannered end pieces. I've already done one here, look. And let's open it up. I find it easier to thread this through and then look at it from the back, because then I can be sure that I've got it right in the middle. Ooh, that jumped right out. Okay. And then I'm just going to cut that down. I don't need them very long. And let's cut this last one. Pop it in. If you didn't have a punch like this, you could always just pennant the ends yourself. And all you do to pennant them yourself, you just make a little cut right in the middle, and then you go from each corner to that middle piece. So you get just the same effect. Let's cut this down a little bit more. I don't need that piece. I'm going to pop this one up on dimensionals. And stick it over my wayward twine as well, and that will just keep that held down. There we go. Let's take the back ends off. And because this is on dimensionals and lifted up a little bit, it means that I'll be able to slide my pennanted piece of designer series paper right underneath. Just check that that's straight. It looks straight when I'm looking at it from this angle, but I'm just moving it a tiny bit because it isn't perfectly straight. Okay, now it is. Okay, and then these pieces, I'm going to just pop under here. They are longer than I want at the moment, and I'm only going to put them on with a glue dot. So let's find a glue dot, and I'm going to put the glue dot on the flat edge. And that will be plenty to stick them down. Let me just see. I'm going to line it up with the left-hand side of the design series paper. I'm going to try and have them all the same length. You could do this with a little piece of leftover cardstock as well. It doesn't have to be design series paper. Now that's a bit too long. I'm going to trim a little bit off. See if this is any better. I'm going to leave a little gap behind them. Oh, this one's been a bit wayward. Come down a little bit. There we go. Yeah. And then where's my third piece? Let's trim this down as well. And because I'm not sticking it flat down, it actually gives it a little bit of dimension. This one's on the wobble, but it gives it a little bit of dimension, and it looks sort of, you know, free. So I'm leaving that same little gap that I left on the first ones. Put it down a little bit. There we go. Move those two out of the way because we don't need those. I might have to put another glue dot just near the bottom of those. It's a little bit wobbly. They've got a bit of a mind of their own. Like little flags blowing in the wind. And last of all, I'm going to pop just a couple of the rustic metallic dots on as well. So where did I put my pokey tool? My picky tool. Where did you go? Don't know. So I'll take them off with my fingers. Oh, I see where it is, look, and it's in here. You can either use this end, or I've found lately, I've been using this spatula end. Pop that back in. It just sort of lifts them off, and it gives you a little bit, oh, I've got a little glue on there. It gives you just a little bit more versatility, or being able to use them. So, it means I don't have to stick them down straight away either. Oh, it's stuck on my finger. There we go. And a third one over here. I think I'm just going to pop them on like that. There we go. And squish them down with my finger. And that's it. Oop. So that's my card for my Casually Crafting blog that I belong to. And after I've finished filming, I will just pop another glue dot under these so that they stay nice and flat. But that's a little flap card, which I think is really sweet. I think it's a really nice card. So thank you to Connie for showing me how to make it, and thank you to all of you for watching me. I'll see you all again really soon. Take care and have a great weekend. Bye bye.